we are going to pick back up with the Dunder Mifflin office building drawing that is going to be made in the style made by Pam Beasley in the Office episode for her art show. We have begun by creating the basic structure. We've divided it up into thirds. As you can see, we have these sections here, the tile section, the window section, and then that top section. So we are going to now add some vertical lines to further divide up these pieces. So I'm going to grab my T-square and I am going to measure over from the far left side. I'm going to do this in the lower section here, just where I've got some room. And I am going to make a mark at 7 1/4, at 8, at 9, and at 10 1/2. 7 1/4, 8, 9, and 10 1/2. I am going to measure over from the right side, so I've just flipped my T-square upside down. I'm going to make a mark at 1 1/4, 1 1/2, and 2. So those are my dividing lines. I'm going to just go through now with my T-square and add the verticals. Just sliding that over, keeping the T tucked up against the bottom of the paper so I get nice, true verticals. Drawing lightly because some of these lines are going to go away later. Okay, so now I have my sections. Each window is in its own section. But what you might notice is that it's kind of divided up additionally within each of those sections. This time I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to estimate. So I'm looking from left to right within this piece, this section here. Make a mark. I'm just estimating the center of that space. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. So just like before, I'm going to use my T-square. This time I'm going to draw these lines really light because I know for sure that part of this line is going to go away here in just a moment. Okay, now what I'd like to do next is to work on this piece here. So within each of these sections are these little boxes. And what I want you to notice is that from top to bottom of this space, the middle is approximately the top of that box. So this is the space I'm looking at. I'm looking from top to bottom. I'm estimating the middle. I'm going to call that the middle. And now I'm going to grab my 18-inch ruler, line it up with my left-hand vanishing point, and I'm going to draw a line, an orthogonal line, right there, skip a line, draw a line, skip, draw, skip, draw, skip. So when I'm done, it looks like that right there. I'm going to do the same thing below that line, to scoot it down about 1/4 inch from the very first one you drew. We're just estimating a little bit here. And these are going to serve as these little boxes, those little white boxes I showed you just a minute ago. And if you want to have that reference image pulled up in front of you on another tab, it is not hard to find it with a simple Google search. Now I know I keep popping it back and forth out of your view, but you can also have it pulled up on a different window. So I've erased below that line and within that space, and now I'm just going to finish off these boxes with some vertical lines. And they should get progressively smaller as they move back in space, but the verticals should be more or less equal distance from the original vertical that we started with. Okay. So there we have it. We've got our boxes. Now, what about over here? Well, using that same orthogonal, let's just go ahead and make a little mark on our corner of our building. And we'll use that to line up to our right-hand vanishing point. Actually, I don't really need it all that distance. I need it here, 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 here. So let's go through and erase. I got carried away there, didn't I? Okay, now with my T-square. Now the boxes on this wall are very compressed. This whole wall is very compressed, so it's all going to look real small and kind of squished. And that's okay. A lot of this wall, quite honestly, will get covered up later when we add our trees, but we really can't draw any of it without drawing all of it, so that's why I go ahead and use that same technique. Okay, now that part is almost done, but if you look here, you'll notice we need one more orthogonal here and here. Where does that belong? Well, it's really about halfway between the top of the box and that stripe there. So if we're looking here, it's going to be right in there. We're going to use our 18-inch ruler to connect that line, and it goes all the way through. And I'll switch over here. Right-hand vanishing point, right to that corner. Okay, now we'll call that section done. If we look back at our inspiration image, let's look now at the bottom section. We're going to pretend the door isn't there for the time being, but we notice that in this area that looks kind of like tile, we need another orthogonal, and it is also about halfway. So again, we're just estimating about halfway. Using our left-hand vanishing point to go left, and then our right-hand vanishing point to go right. And believe it or not, now that section, for now anyway, is basically done since we're going to ignore the door. Now we have to look at the middle section, which is windows. This looks complicated, but it's really not so bad. We need, within the sections we have, to divide them up in half again and again because we have the frame of the window that we need to account for. So within this middle stripe, we need additional dividing verticals. And I'm just guessing where half is. I'm not measuring these, I'm just guessing. And my T-square will give me some nice straight lines, vertical lines. I'm doing a double line here to represent the frame of the window. It doesn't look like much yet, but we'll get there. Okay, we're almost there on the windows. Notice that the windows themselves are divided up not in half, but approximately into thirds. So you'll see here, if we divided those sections into thirds, the third would be below that line and 2/3 would be above that line. So I'm going to go ahead and just estimate where 1/3 of the way would be. Using my left-hand vanishing point here. And lower it slightly to add a second line. And almost done. I'm going to go all the way up to the top and add a line for that frame. And all the way to the bottom and add a line for that part of the frame. And my windows are done. The good news is I do not have to do anything on the right hand side because the windows on the right side are totally and completely hidden from view by the trees. We are almost there, guys. Now we're going to do our door. So hang with me. It's in this section right here. We're going to measure in. I'm going to grab my T-square here. I'm going to measure in about a 1/4 inch in from this edge. So that's going to put me at 10 3/4 inch from the left-hand side. I'm going to make a mark at 12, which is not the end of the T-square, but it's the last mark on the T-square. Now I'm going to put my T-square on the bottom of my page. Notice if all went well, the bottom of my building should be right at 3 inches. And I'm going to make this line 1 1/4 inch tall. So that puts me at 4 1/4. So I went from 3 to 4 1/4, which is 1 1/4 inch tall. I need another one in here. Don't know how long that one's going to be yet until I line up with my vanishing point for the top of this. And it's going to go like that. So I'm going to need that to be just a tiny bit longer. Okay, so this is the opening for my door. We're almost there, guys. We are gonna make another mark in here, maybe just a little over 1/4 inch in from that edge. So I'm just past 11 inches here on my T-square. Now from the corner here and the corner here, I need to show the inside wall where this opens. It's there's an opening that we need to establish, and we're going to do that. It's real simple. We're just going to use our right hand vanishing point from that corner in, and then from the bottom corner in. So hopefully you can kind of see how that works. And we really are almost there, because now we're going to line up using our 18-inch ruler with that new corner there from the left side. And that is our doorway. And we're just going to stop there for today. So we are just now really at the point where we need to add some details. We'll get the door frame on the door and then add a little bit around the outside of the building, and we're in pretty good shape.